first year in the Canadian Rockies. Moose populations are declining. Any calf born now has the deck stacked against it.
Tonight at 7 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
If you are 60 or over, consider a charitable gift annuity with Arizona PBS. A charitable gift annuity will provide you a steady stream of income during your lifetime and also help ensure that Arizona PBS is available for future generations.
Coming up next on Arizona PBS, Life and World.
Hello, I'm Paula Kerger, President and CEO of PBS. We know that you have many choices on TV, and I just want to say thank you for choosing to watch Arizona PBS. In addition to offering the best of our national content, from the PBS NewsHour to PBS Kids, your station presents exceptional programs that focus on the issues important to your family and your community. As we look to the future, we promise that we will continue to offer content that educates, inspires, and entertains. Thank you so much for your support of Arizona PBS.
Coming soon to Arizona PBS.
I'm Chef Mark Tarbell. Join me for a brand new episode of Check Please Arizona. This week our guests have dined all over the valley. At the Farm Kitchen in Phoenix, Udupi Indian Vegetarian and Vegan Cuisine in Tempe, and in Goodyear, Dino's Greek and Italian Grill. Don't miss an all-new episode of Check Please Arizona, Thursday night at 7 on Arizona PBS.
When you want to be more informed, Arizona PBS delivers news and analysis with multiple perspectives, thanks to financial support from you and
Deanne Griebel, now with Moores & Cabot Investments, serving investors since 1890, proudly supports quality programming on 8 Arizona PBS, 480-725-9602.
AARP in Phoenix thinks today should be your day. So get active and help keep Phoenix in motion, or get involved in improving your community. Take on today and every day. Learn how at aarp.org/Phoenix.
From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
New information on the deployment of the Arizona National Guard to the border. We hear from military leadership on the mission.
And teachers across the state participated in another walk-in before school started this morning. But the threat of a walkout is still on the table.
Plus, we go live from Washington, D.C., discussing how the 2020 Census citizenship question could impact immigrant communities.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Adriana de Alba.
And I'm Troy Lynch. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, an inside look at the plan for our Arizona National Guard troops headed to the border. Governor Doug Ducey has committed more than 300 troops to support Border Patrol as part of Operation Guardian Shield. Cronkite News reporter Lillian Donahue joins us live from the Papago Park Military Reservation headquarters. Lillian?
338 National Guard troops will be headed here to Arizona's southern border this weekend. Just a few hours ago, here at the headquarters of the National Guard in Phoenix, they updated us on their progress.
Ultimately, our objective of this mission is to surge badges to the border, put more enforcement agents out there.
Wednesday afternoon in Phoenix, Arizona, National Guard leadership provided details into what exactly they'll be doing at the southern border. It's all a part of Operation Guardian Shield, and its mission includes securing the border, answering emergency calls, from surveillance to even vehicle maintenance. Major General Michael McGuire says troops will be aiding Customs and Border Protection in both air and on the ground. He also noted although the operation is not unique, the National Guard's ability to help local law enforcement has changed with better technology. At this point, he says none of the troops will be armed.
Units that we have deployed or the individual assignments that we've received today do not require that based on the mission.
According to the general, 60 troops will be on the ground in Nogales, Arizona by Friday, and by Monday, the rest will follow. In Phoenix, Lillian Donahue, Cronkite News.
California Governor Jerry Brown says he's using federal funding to deploy 400 National Guard troops per the president's request, but they won't all be going to the border. Some will be on the coast and other places around the state. Brown says his focus is on combating drug crimes and human trafficking, not the wall. Meanwhile, U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions spoke to the Southwest Border Coalition in New Mexico today, rallying support for the border enforcement. He said that ending catch and release policies is crucial in backing up the military border effort.
I've ordered each United States Attorney's offices along the southwest border to have a zero-tolerance policy toward illegal entry. Our goal is to prosecute every case that is brought to us. There must be consequences for illegal actions.
Sessions said that New Mexico is already meeting expectations for ending catch and release policies and dramatically increasing illegal entry prosecutions.
The Trump administration is moving forward with a plan to ask about citizenship status on the 2020 census. Officials said the data will help protect voting rights, but critics called the move another step against immigrants. Cronkite News reporter Austin Bundy heard from Congressional Hispanic Caucus members about the census debate today in Washington. Austin?
Caucus members said the Trump administration's plan to add a citizenship question to the 2020 census illegally targets the immigrant community and will make it more likely they will be undercounted, according to Texas Representative Joaquin Castro.
Anybody who's seen the census form knows that oftentimes people think that it's an intrusive list of questions. This will make it much less likely that we'll get full and complete answers from so many people.
Caucus members like New York Representative Nydia Velázquez believe this has nothing to do with counting people, but is just an enforcement tool for the Justice Department, causing undocumented people to refrain from filling out the form, which will mean fewer federal funds for immigrant-heavy districts.
If we don't show up, if you don't fill that form, you don't exist. That means less money will come to our congressional districts.
Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross said he weighed those concerns before adding the citizenship question, but said the limited burden is outweighed by the need for voter data. Some caucus members suggested skipping the citizenship question to send a message to the administration, but they hope it won't have to come to that. California Representative Nanette Barragan said the caucus will fight the proposal, but wants to make it clear the caucus is not supporting a boycott or lying of any kind on the census form.
Well, first of all, nobody is suggesting lying. Zero. If you skip a question, you're not lying. We don't want people to boycott the census. We want people to be counted. And if people boycott it and don't fill it out, we're gonna see the harm that we just talked about.
Legal challenges have already been filed by several states that say the Constitution requires that all people be counted, citizens or not. We reached out to the Commerce Department for comment, but it has not responded. Live in Washington, Austin Bundy, Cronkite News.
From northern Arizona to Tucson, thousands of people participated in walk-ins to show support for the Red for Ed movement. Reporter Gabriela Becerra shows us what happened here in the Valley.
Students, parents, and staff showed up by the thousands in the early morning hours at schools across the state. They wore red to show support for their teachers.
Our students and our teachers deserve better than what we're getting right now.
Teacher Jennifer Samuels led her colleagues and the community in walking into Desert Shadows Middle School. Parents at the event are supporting their child's teachers in whatever next steps they take. Parent and former educator Jill Leshin says she thinks teachers need to go on strike.
If teachers strike, then what's going to happen is parents can't go to work, and then it's going to directly affect the economy. And then people are going to start to pay attention.
Leshin says she is willing to help, even if that means increasing taxes.
I am more than happy to fund education as a homeowner, as a voter, and I think if we all just pitched in a little bit, that's what community is all about.
At Desert Springs Preparatory Elementary, teacher Amy Smith led the event.
We support Red for Ed.
Smith says the state hasn't properly funded education since 2008.
Without that funding, all of the students in our buildings don't have as many textbooks and technology and supplies. Class sizes are very large.
Arizona Educators United Noah Carvelis says that they have not yet made a decision on whether or not teachers will be walking out. This decision could be coming in the next couple of days. Live in the Media Center, Gabriela Becerra, Cronkite News.
Red for Ed support is running down to the Capitol, literally, as one teacher left his school this morning and ran a marathon at the Arizona Capitol. Physical education teacher Landon Benson left Sonoran Foothills School at 6:30 this morning, ran down 19th Avenue and finished his trek at the Capitol just after 11. Waiting at the finish line was his family and former track coach. He was introduced on the House floor as a special guest. Benson compares the marathon as an analogy for education.
About funding for our schools that have dropped significantly in the last decade. And so it's about bringing those up and the long term. A marathon is a long race, and it's about creating long-term sustainability in our education system.
Depend on Cronkite News for full updates on the Red for Ed movement. We'll post on our social channels and online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org. House Republican Speaker Paul Ryan announced this morning he would not be running for re-election. Ryan's departure deals a blow to Republican House members who saw him as a stabilizing force during President Trump's administration. Ryan has served as House Speaker since 2015. Congressional observers see House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Majority Whip Steve Scalise as two of the contenders likely to replace Ryan.
Facebook's founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg is back on Capitol Hill this morning to continue their hearing. Zuckerberg testified in front of a House panel to address the mishandling of tens of million Facebook users. Today's hearing followed up on many questions the panel raised yesterday, such as how Facebook got into a crisis of confidence and into political controversy. This comes after Cambridge Analytica, a political data firm, connected with the Trump campaign and breached the data of as many as 87 million Facebook users. Facebook knew about the misuse back in 2015, but didn't start notifying users until this week. Zuckerberg revealed his own data was mishandled as well.
It's clear now that we didn't do enough to prevent these tools from being used for harm as well. And that goes for fake news, foreign interference in elections, and hate speech, as well as developers and data privacy.
A memorial unveiled near the White House today is not a typical Washington monument. It focuses on victims of opioid abuse nationwide. Cronkite News reporter Ariana Bustos shows us how the opioid crisis has fueled this new effort for awareness.
From far away, this wall doesn't look like much. But if you look closer, there are faces etched in individual pills, 22,000 of them.
This memorial is a tangible representation of the 22,000 lives that were lost just in 2015 to prescription, painkillers, and prescribed fentanyl.
In their 2018 Prescription Nation report on the opioid epidemic released last week, the National Safety Council said Arizona is just one of 13 states where efforts to address the opioid crisis are improving, and one of 7 states that moved up its marks from failing just last year.
Arizona is actually doing a fantastic job in many of the areas. They should be really proud of their progress.
The report ranked the states based on 6 key actions for ending the opioid crisis: prescription education and guidelines, prescription drug monitoring programs, data sharing, and treating overdose and opioid addiction. Arizona met all actions but treating overdoses. Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said efforts to solve the opioid epidemic have to come from everybody.
State and local governments, law enforcement, faith-based community groups, educators, families, healthcare providers, and more all have key roles to play.
And Hersman put particular focus on the state's job to fight the opioid crisis.
In many ways, the things that they do have the greatest impact on their communities, on their cities, and on their citizens.
Reporting from Washington, Ariana Bustos, Cronkite News.
Restricting SNAP benefits could do more harm than good.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how some doctors are fighting for better SNAP regulations to fight hunger and health issues.
Plus, find out how your overdue library fines could contribute to a good cause right here in the Valley.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland.
In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture says it wants to stiffen rules for the food stamp program known as SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which has some health advocates worried. Cronkite News reporter Shelby Lindsay has more from our Washington bureau.
Dr. Michael Hull's prescriptions don't always come out of a pharmacy. The pediatrician said he counts on programs like federal nutrition systems, meal vouchers, and school nutrition programs to help his patients.
There are a lot of things that affect health that aren't health care. In other words, I can prescribe a medicine, but it does very little for hunger, homelessness, low incomes.
1 in 8 Americans struggle with food insecurity, and in Arizona, it's 1 in 6. But experts at a panel worry things will only get worse if restrictions on food stamps, known as SNAP, are approved by Congress.
It will reauthorize SNAP, and it provides opportunities for changes to happen in the SNAP program, which could be good or bad. And unfortunately, most of the changes that are being discussed are not good.
John Cook, principal investigator for Children's Health Watch, said Arizona's large Native American and immigrant population suffers the most.
They're working people, and they don't have great opportunities for earning high incomes.
In Arizona, nearly 400,000 kids do not have access to reliable food. And Hull reminded us why he feels these programs are essential.
My concern is for the future of our country and our states like Arizona. And if we're people who care about the future of our country, then I think we should start caring a little bit more about the people who will be living in that future, which is our kids.
Reporting in Washington, Shelby Lindsay, Cronkite News.
42 million Americans currently receive SNAP benefits, and an estimated 919,000 get food stamps in Arizona.
For 2 weeks, Phoenix public libraries are helping to tackle hunger by taking food to pay off library fines. Cronkite News reporter Jamie Fossenkemper explains how this annual food drive works.
This is an opportunity for you to help yourself by getting the fines lowered at the libraries, but you're also helping so many other people.
Phoenix Public Library is holding their annual Food for Fines food drive. You have until April 21st to pay off library fines without having to reach into your pocket.
You bring in unexpired, non-perishable items, and each item is worth 50 cents to go towards paying down your library fines or lost. If anybody's lost anything, this can go towards that, up to a maximum of $75.
Happening for over a dozen years, Food for Fines continues to bring in an abundance of food for St. Mary's Food Bank.
We've received as much as 50,000 pounds a year from this drive.
Franklin says this drive helps get people back to the books.
We don't want the fact that they have library fines to keep them from coming and making use of anything related to the libraries.
In the spring and the summer, food banks don't have the same level public support they do during the holidays.
We're able to help food banks in the greater Phoenix area during a time when they may not have as many donations coming in.
Brown says that the timing for this drive is helpful because kids are about to end school, which is always a busy time for the food bank.
Having large-scale food drives like this right before the end of the school year allows us to stock up for those summer times.
Summer times when those students in need don't have access to free breakfast and lunch at school. In Phoenix, Jamie Fossenkemper, Cronkite News.
There are 17 Phoenix libraries participating in this drive. For more information, you can visit phoenixpubliclibrary.org. One Valley School has students integrating pups into their curriculum.
Coming up on Cronkite News, we'll take you to meet some students now training dogs for a future of service.
Strong winds are bringing cooler temperatures. Your weather's coming up after the break.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
At One Valley High School, it's not unusual to see dogs in the classroom. Students are helping train those dogs to be service animals. Reporter Nicole Gutierrez shows us how the dogs benefit the trainers just as much as their future owners.
What better way to prepare that dog than as part of its training to have them in a high school?
At Camelback High School, students have a club called Spartan Paws, where they help train dogs to become service animals.
They're exposed to thousands of children all day long.
Students work with organization Lifeline Assistance to learn how to train and integrate the dogs in their classrooms.
Being able to learn how to work with a dog, how to reinforce behaviors, how to teach a dog a new behavior from the very beginning to the very end of a completed behavior is a super skill and a pretty unique one for students and staff members to learn.
Arrow the Rottweiler is Spartan Paw's demo dog. This is just one of the many skills these dogs learn.
The dogs are not only trained for their future jobs, but also help some of the volunteer trainers who have special needs.
The dogs act as a social bridge, and the students are able to interact with each other and be inclusive when the dogs are around. We've seen a lot of growth with our students. We've actually had students that have said complete sentences for the first time ever with the dog.
But besides teaching tricks, Newman says that students learn an invaluable life lesson.
They learn to take on something that is bigger than themselves. They're able to give back in a way that makes a difference in somebody else's life.
The dogs can also become comfort animals or be specially trained for seizure recovery and diabetic alert. In Phoenix, Nicole Gutierrez, Cronkite News.
Camelback High School has 3 service dogs in training daily. Dogs typically spend a year on campus and then are placed with disability handlers all over the United States. Atlin, it was another hot one out there today.
Oh, it sure was, Troy. It continues to be hot in the desert. You know, tonight our evening forecast is going to be 89 degrees. We get out of the 90s just around 8 p.m., but those wind gusts up to 25 miles per hour, and that is because we got a weather front coming into Arizona tonight. The National Weather Service has issued a red flag warning, and they want you to avoid all burn-related activities such as bonfires for the next couple of days because those winds are about to get even stronger. Your forecast for tomorrow, sunny skies, but those winds up to 40 miles per hour, and they're bringing massive temperature drops with them. 80-degree high in Phoenix tomorrow, a 20-degree difference from our 100-degree inaugural sitting yesterday. Now, if we look ahead to the weekend, strong winds are bringing a 77-degree high, a high in the 70s on Friday, and then as we move to the rest of the week, it heats up again, but then, look at that, 80 degrees. We drop right back down again on Tuesday. I'm Alan Hazard for Cronkite Weather.
Imagine getting all of your necessary vitamins and then some from an IV on a regular basis.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how people right here in the Valley are being treated the same way as professional athletes and Hollywood celebrities.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
Fridays, it's at Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites, YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Then join us for @Cronkite News, our weekly refresh, each Friday at 5 on Arizona PBS.
You might normally associate IVs with illnesses in hospitals, but you can get one without visiting the ER. Reporter Tim Johns was in Scottsdale to see how one business is using IVs as a health and wellness treatment in the Valley.
Since it opened its doors 5 years ago, Sarah Ortoff has been in the drip room once a month getting a little boost from an IV vitamin drip.
I came in on their soft opening weekend and had a drip for the first time and just loved it and have been coming ever since.
Believe it or not, intravenous vitamin therapy techniques have been around since the 1950s, but despite their longevity, they've only recently become more common, aided by their popularity among Hollywood celebrities and professional athletes. The idea is that through an IV drip, vitamins and nutrients are directly delivered into the body, allowing for immediate maximum absorption.
As soon as within 15 minutes or so, I always feel better. Even if I wasn't feeling like anything negative before, I wasn't sick or not feeling good, I always feel better really quickly and I notice the benefits really well.
Shirley Kelly is a registered nurse and the founder of the Drip Room. She says that IV vitamin drips have a multitude of positive effects.
Most people will experience better sleep. It can help with sleep patterns, improved mood. It can help with allergies, energy, but it's a nice natural energy. It's not that wired kind of feeling that some might get after a caffeine or something like that.
And Ortoff plans to keep getting her drips and thinks the trend will only become more popular.
I think it's one of those things that will move its way into being much more like mainstream, where it isn't something just new and exciting for certain people, because I think there are so many health benefits.
Some of the types of drips include detox, anti-aging, and even hydrogen peroxide. In Scottsdale, Tim Johns, Cronkite News.
The science behind the treatments is inconclusive. IV therapy is generally unregulated and not FDA approved as an official medical treatment.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, legislative leaders react to a possible teacher strike, and we'll meet a local Jewish veteran ahead of a PBS documentary on Jewish Americans in World War II.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next NewsHour, the real cost of the president's tough talk on trade. I speak with Kansas Senator Pat Roberts. That's Wednesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Vilna was one of the most important cities in Jewish history.
This is ground zero for the final solution.
In June, the Germans attacked us.
80 Jews hatched a plan. They started digging an escape tunnel. The entrance to the tunnel was found, but they couldn't find the continuation.
You've got no idea what we're going to find down there? Oh my goodness.
This is astounding.
Tonight at 8 on Arizona PBS. Explore new ideas and new worlds here on Arizona PBS, a community service of Arizona State University.
Throughout its history, Arizona PBS and volunteers have enjoyed a rich and rewarding partnership.
Whether answering phones during our pledge campaigns, stuffing envelopes, or assisting with special events, volunteering is fun and provides excellent work experience, team building for a group, and a sense of community involvement and importance. If you would like to volunteer or if you have dropped off our mailing list, we encourage you to call the number on your screen or go online at azpbs.org/volunteer.